Welcome to the Agents of the Roundtable Wiki Community AMA. Every Monday, we discuss Secret Network and its applications with guests from all around the network. This is an audio recording of the AMA. We hope you enjoy.
So, welcome everyone to another Agents of the Roundtable education session or community AMA, whatever you want to call them, hosted every Thursday at 5 UTC. And this week we have Starshell Wallet on. They just announced their beta going live again, or at least another version, which you can download on Chrome, but also an airdrop which is coming up for some of their VIP NFTs to make sure you can fully enjoy everything the wallet has to offer. So let's introduce them first. Welcome, and maybe you can quickly introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. I'm SupDoggy. Online, you'll see me as SupDoggy. My name is Blake. And we started developing Starshell back in November of 2021. We applied for a grant from Secret Labs, and ever since then we've been working to improve the user experience on the Secret Network. And since we started developing, we also decided that since we're putting all this work into building on a Cosmos SDK chain, that it just makes sense to also expand that scope to some of the sister chains on Cosmos and bring enhanced privacy and security to some of the other chains as well, while also trying to bring some special IBC features to really synergize with the Cosmos. And so we're really excited to help bring in more value to the Secret Network by really improving the user experience for new users, to help support the road to mass adoption, as well as existing users on other Cosmos chains who can really start to recognize the value in wrapping their assets as secret tokens and having a very seamless process in with IBC in general. So
And it seems that it is actually working. You just launched a beta. What is the time frame which passed so far? Like, when did you get a grant? When did developing start on this whole journey, basically?
Sure. So we got the first green light in, I think, January or February, when it was finally okay, here's the money, go ahead and start development. And then we launched our MVP, which was basically a UI demo in, I think, May. And with that, just getting started from scratch, it takes a lot of time and effort. But the MVP was pretty successful. That was really just an evaluation of okay, does this whole design that we've made for UI, does it function the way that we would expect? Are people happy with it? Is it intuitive enough? And we got really good feedback on the MVP. So, and by the way, thank you to everyone who participated. We do still have the addresses of people who said, hey, I want to be recognized for being a tester of MVP, and we do plan on honoring that when the time comes. And then since then, we've been working super hard to move into actual beta, right? And so MVP is just all fake data, just all UI stuff. Getting from there to actual beta, where things are functioning the way they should, that data can be added, transactions are actually being sent to the chain, you have error handling, all that stuff. It's a ton of work. So it's a big milestone for us today to be finally pushing beta to these web stores. And in fact, yeah, today in a couple minutes, I'll be publishing the test flight app. So everyone who's signed up for the iOS and iPhone form will be getting an invite soon today and within the next hour, where they can download Starshell for iOS and test it out. And Android is coming soon. That one is still TBD, but working every day on going through the hoops to get things approved and listed on the various stores that distribute the app to those devices. So
That's actually great news. Hearing that we can soon use the mobile app. The wallet landscape is suddenly changing very quickly. We've of course all been anticipating the release of Starshell and some other wallets that are coming out for a very, very, very long time, because I think Secret is one of the only networks which doesn't have a functioning mobile wallet within IBC. So I'm very keen to start using that. So the mobile wallet experience, maybe to just quickly go over that. How different is that from the desktop version that is available right now, and how do you differ the development for launching such an application?
So yeah, really good question. This is like the exact thing I wanted to talk about from our segueing off from the previous topic. So the wallet looks and functions the exact same no matter which platform you're on. So if you're on desktop, when you open the extension, that UI is the same UI you interact with on your phone. And this has a few advantages. First of all, for us, it makes deployment much easier. We don't have to develop different UIs or of variants for the different platforms. It also means we're designing to be very mobile friendly oriented. So like some of the decisions about where buttons are leaning a little more towards, okay, is this really user friendly on a phone? Now for the mobile devices, something different about Starshell from any other wallet is that we actually deploy as a browser extension on mobile as well. This is very, this is something that, as far as I'm aware, has never been done before. So with all the other mobile wallets you have, they install as a native app, and then when you want to like interact with dApps, if they even support it, it opens like an embedded web view within the app. And that works, but it sort of fragments user experience a little bit, because now the user doesn't, isn't able to bring in like all of the features of their, browser profile, say. So maybe it doesn't connect with their password autofill, or it doesn't, allow them to have bookmarks or tabs. It's kind of just like a very narrow view of like, okay, I have this one view where I can like navigate around my dApps or whatever. So with Starshell, we actually install as a browser extension, and which means that the user can actually just use their, the browser of their choice, at least on Android. On iPhone, it's limited to Safari. That's just the best we can do. Use their browser to, browse the web or to surf the web, and then, they come across a dApp and they need to sign a transaction. Pop-up comes up, from the wallet extension, prompting them to sign this transaction or approve the permissions request, and then go right back to using the dApp and browsing the web. So the wallet is still there as just like a utility that is augmenting your browser experience, which we see as like a really important step to, right? The focus should be on the dApps themselves, which have designed these beautiful UIs and are all about, being web dApps. And then our wallet, comes in at the right time to augment that with the communication with the blockchain. Now, the other aspect, so there is still a strong use case for, well, I just want to open my wallet and I want to send tokens, or I want to see my history, or I want to share a QR code, or I want to scan a QR code, right? All that sort of thing. So the amazing thing about web these days is that these problems have really been working, have received a lot of attention over the last decade. So yes, it installs as a browser extension, but as you'll see with the mobile demos that are coming out very soon, it also has a home screen button. So when you install it, either if you're on Android, it'll install as a progressive web app, and on iPhone, it installs as a web extension, or as an app extension. In both cases, you basically get a shortcut on your home screen that opens a full screen UI of Starshell. So by all appearances, it looks like you're just opening a full screen app, and in reality, you basically are, right? You're opening the full UI to the wallet, where you can just focus on using the wallet itself, and then you can go and switch over to your browser and start using it, and it's also there too. So anyways, this is, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is something that no other wallet, as far as we're aware, has done yet, and we're really excited to be the first ones to offer this user experience where we still have the look and feel of a native app, but we also are being able to embed in the browser itself, so that the user experience is really contiguous.
Yeah, it's really cool how you thought about this entire process and how people want to use this application. So it's just great to hear that there's so much thought being put into how this wallet should be used, where you want to use it, and how you can best do it on both devices. Like, I've been toying with the wallet a little bit today with the beta coming up, of course, and there are already some things that I just that feel really slick about it and are nice. Like, I realized that there's like a QR scanner possible, I guess, to do some form of wallet connect, or to send to someone who also has a QR code live when you meet him in person, and you don't have to select any fees. Like the average fee is automatically selected, so I guess it would make it very easy for users to always make sure the transaction goes through. And then maybe cool is like there's a history tab. So if you didn't try out the wallet, please do. It's on Secret and Cosmos Hub testnet at the moment. You can send some secret to Subdoggy and do all kinds of things. The history is really cool. I really like that feature.
And by the way, so the QR code stuff is kind of a fun thing to talk about. So, it's nothing new, right? Like a wallet where you can say, oh, I want to share my address, and it opens up a QR code scanner, and then you scan it. But with a lot of this is all coming from just the extensive research that I've done with all the other wallets, that's that you have to do when you're making a wallet. But what a lot of the other wallets do is when you scan the QR code, it's just text, it's just the address. What we're doing is we're actually creating deep link. So when you scan the QR code, it opens a link to a Starshell dummy page, and the information in that, the data in that QR code, doesn't even leave the device. So it gets embedded in the hash. For those who understand like more technical stuff about how the web works, it gets embedded in the hash fragment of the URL. So that information actually never leaves the device. But what it does allow is for the JavaScript application that opens on that web page to read that information and pass it to the web extension. So what this means is that when you share that QR code, someone can scan it who doesn't have the app installed, and they can still get the information from it. Like it'll open a UI, it'll be like, here's all the information in that QR code this person sent you, which can be anything. It can be an address, it can be, an experimental chain, it can be a smart contract, suggestion or like anything that we want in the wallet, right? And then for people who do have it installed, it will show them like a detailed view of like, this is what this QR code contains, what action you want to take. Do you want to add this to your wallet? Yada, yada, yada. So yeah, anyways, that's just a fun thing. And when I say it's a deep link, that means that you can scan it just from any QR code scanner, and it will, connect you to the right place in the Starshell app or on the Starshell web UI. It won't just give you some random text, right, that you have to like copy and figure out what to do with. It will it provides all that context for you. Yeah, there's something else that you said after QR code scanner that I also wanted to talk about. I forget what it was.
I was talking about the history feature, but maybe before that,
yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Discussing this, the deep link and the way that the information flows through the user and where it's located. I was quickly interested in the private memo. It's a very nice feature in my opinion. It uses a very similar structure as what Secret Network actually uses. As in one person, everyone has a public key, but only the public key and the private key of the two participants can actually reveal the information in the memo. So that's really cool. But I was just questioning: is this only possible if the other participant has a Starshell wallet? Like, how does that interact with other wallets or potential block explorers and stuff like that?
Yeah, another great question. So, the private memos thing is really fun and interesting, just like from both the implementation side and from the use case side. So just for anyone out there who hasn't heard, we implemented this feature in beta that will also be in production, which allows you to encrypt a message when you are sending secret to another address. And that message gets encrypted in the memo field of the actual transaction, which is, sort of just like this really underutilized feature of a lot of blockchains where you can append some custom text to a transaction that gets saved with all of the data that gets stored on the blockchain. And typically it's meant for, to like supplement the context of your transaction. Some exchanges use it as a means to like route, to an account or something. But for peer-to-peers transactions, it's sort of meant to be like, hey, this, thanks for covering pizza, right? Or like, my rent payment, right? But the problem obviously is like that's a public blockchain, and peer-to-peer transactions tend to be more personal. So we added just this feature that will encrypt the message such that on the blockchain publicly it appears as just a bunch of scrambled text, but to the sender and the recipient, they are the only ones who can decrypt that message and see its original contents. And now some people might be wondering, well, that's nothing new, like there's a bunch of smart contracts that can do that. True, but this is a entirely layer one solution. So there are no layer two things involved whatsoever in this private memos thing, right? The way it works is well, first of all, before you can send a private memo to recipient, they have to have signed a transaction, any transaction on chain previously. And the reason for that is because once they sign something, once they send a transaction, their public key gets published to the blockchain, and that public key is what the wallet uses to derive a shared secret with them. That's the key enabler so that you can be able to send an encrypted message to them so that they can read it later. So that's the one prerequisite. The recipient has to have sent a transaction before. And as far as compatibility with other wallets, we are going to open the specification for how that information is encrypted, and it is intended to be open and reusable. We don't want to have a monopoly on this feature. We really want, if other wallets are interested in implementing it, we really want this to be a cross wallet open protocol that anyone can implement and use, so that you're not just limited to using Starshell for it. So yeah, but if any other wallets decide to implement this feature, like, that'll be really awesome. I think that's super cool. And like I said, the use case is really about, in my mind, about replacing peer-to-peer, micropayments, where it's like, I just want, right? It's like, I don't want to use Venmo because it's so weird that I'm putting out there to the entire public sphere that, like, I went and got drinks with a friend, at this location or whatever. Like, I prefer if that information is private. Like, it's still very useful to be able to remember, oh yeah, like, this, $20 or whatever was for this thing, or I can go into the history and be like, see, I already paid you for that. But have it be private.
It's super helpful. I mean, everyone here has probably, I guess in the US you have Venmo or PayPal, and Europe you have just your regular bank account that does stuff like this. It's just nice. So it's a very good feature, and it's just one of the many features which is included in the wallet, which just it interested me. It was just cool. I was just checking it out. Like, you can also do a pop-up and you get a full screen version of the wallet. I guess very similar to how that would look on mobile, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The receive also is the QR, of course, and then lastly the history. Maybe you quickly want to say something about that feature or something that's interesting.
So with the history, it doesn't. So there's a history tab that shows you not only every outgoing and incoming transaction, but also like every event that takes place. So if you create a new account, or you edit the name of the account, or you change a profile picture, or you add a new chain, or really, make any change in the wallet, that gets an entry in your history tab, and will show you, like, this is what the value used to be, this is what the new value is. And the idea is that, you basically have just a record of every change that was made, and every incident that happened in your wallet. I like to think of wallets as sort of like personal databases. So it's not just, about like doing things. It's also like it also it should maintain a complete history of, all your data, like all your stuff, right? And it's completely non-custodial, so all that information never leaves your device. It's fully encrypted. It is yours and yours only. We're big advocates of privacy, security, and user ownership of data. And in that similar vein to it being a personal database, obviously when you go in and you start editing things, that can tend to create a lot of entries in your history. And so the other complementary feature to the history is the search, which makes it so that every single item in your wallet, so every entry in the history, the different chains, the different tokens, the different contracts, everything is accessible from just a few keystrokes. So the advanced search feature is really what makes the personal database like usable and accessible, right? And the way that search works is still under development, but basically what we're envisioning for it is like a bunch of filters and shortcuts, the same way that you would expect with any like modern chat app like Slack or Discord, where you have some special symbols you can type in the search that do something special, like, oh, it creates a filter and I just want to search among like all my transactions, or I just want to search among like all the changes that I've made to my accounts or whatever. So this is what's known as like a power user friendly feature, and the line to walk there is that it should still be really easy to access anything super quickly on mobile device. So it's all about like, okay, we want to make sure that like power users can enter text to augment their search, but also have like a UI for all the filters where they can toggle on and off all the different things that you can find in the wallet. So so basically, in short, history tab shows you everything. Search lets you find it.
Yeah, it's very nice that it's tailored towards people who really use this wallets a lot. Like it can quickly become overwhelming if you do a few transactions a day. It just gets buried. Even more so if you have multiple wallets, it can be quite difficult. So anything that helps with that regard is just nice. It's just good to have. And then you iterated on it a few times already, that security and privacy is really core to the entire development team and to the ethos behind Starshell Wallet. So just wanted to quickly give you some time to explain why you think the wallet being open source and why it only stores data on the user side, and how these decisions impact not only the development but also the sustainability of a wallet, because you basically have no revenue source if you don't have any data, and how you guys go about that.
Sure. Yeah, so I have a lot of experience with open source projects, and a lot of the time I'm the only developer on those projects. They don't really, like, they're just free, and I'm doing it in my free time, and I've never asked for donations or anything. So with this, it's been more about like, okay, I still don't want to ask for donations. I prefer not to, because I firmly believe that like if someone's going to give money, they should get something of value in return. So in terms of like how do we sustain this, like this product very much has real expenses. We have so I don't personally, I haven't used a cent to pay myself from the grants. It's all gone towards the people that I've hired to help build the product, and the fixed costs for things like signing up for a developer account on Apple, or we have a security audit coming up that we're trying to figure out how to pay for, and we also have all of the infrastructure that runs the web services, like our nodes and stuff. And not, by the way, not just like nodes for the chains, but also supplementary web services that do special stuff. And that's actually what the VIP status grants you is all the web service stuff, which we can also talk about later. But basically, yeah, so like all these things, like to be able to sustain this project for the long term, it's good that it's open source because that encourages contributions from the community. But in order to really like keep it alive, like we have to have a revenue, some sort of revenue stream. So we set up a validator, but really that like the money, like the rewards we get from validation are mostly just going towards maintaining infrastructure costs. So for like the other costs like development of the wallet and continuing to maintain it, I think we'll find some really great ways to make like some valuable feature like things that we'll do, like maybe I don't want to say too much yet, but we have some ideas for things that will provide value to the people who choose to support us in that way, while really helping us like maintain a really high quality open source product. It basically what I'm saying, it's really a hard thing to like design a revenue stream for an open source product that's completely free. And I think it's going to be an exploratory process, finding out what works. But I think going into it, like we're really confident with the business model that we have set up, and time will tell sort of if it's working or not. But yeah, so that's just about like, okay, so how are we going to sustain this long term from a business perspective? The security aspect is also really important. So yeah, it's fully open source. And like I mentioned before, we are going to be undergoing a full security audit from a highly reputable security auditing firm, and currently in the works of like negotiating what the scope of that audit is going to look like. And then once we sign the contract and get the initial audit report, we'll be publishing all of that on our online for everyone to see.
Yeah, it's really important. Like an audit is not something that will. It's not enough to basically say, okay, this app is completely free of any risks, but it's such a big tool for developers to understand what kind of details might be missing somewhere in code. Like I read a few audits of the Shea protocol team and also some audits of other products, and they really go into immense depth. Like people sometimes think
Absolutely.
it's only about making sure there's no breaking bugs, but they also go into this nitty gritty details of how you path certain data when you send it, and how you construct this all, and where it's located, and which functions have which access, and how they're organized. So it's really, really, really important that that something is audited. So I'm very glad to hear that it's both open source and we'll be getting a security audit, so that the entire community who will be using the wallet can get behind it and can understand what they are using. It's really important for anything in the crypto scene.
Yeah, the audits they tend to turn up very interesting results. And one of the things that is important for this audit in particular too is to evaluate these novel privacy tools that we've engineered, because they're so new and like untested. Like they're completely original techniques that we're using to enhance user privacy. It's really important that those are evaluated by like an independent professional company that understands all the implications and can basically come back and say like exactly how well and how accurately those tools and techniques have been put into effect. So yeah, really really important. Like, I agree that it can turn up things that aren't just about finding bugs or vulnerabilities.
Yeah, when it comes out, please send it to me. I'll be happy to read it and understand what. No, and it's clear that from what you mentioned as well, the sustainability of the project is dependent on a lot of things, and there was some confusion about the airdrop that you announced, I think, this week. Um, of course, a lot of us somewhat sometimes feel a bit entitled regarding tokens that are being released when an airdrop comes out or something like this, because we feel we've earned it as a community and we stake and etc. But Starshell really is a different case. I mean, it's a wallet. It's not a decentralized project. You cannot just release a token, keep 10%, and hope that will sustain you for a very long time in the future. So it seemed to me like there are some features coming out, like if you stake enough to the validator, you get like access, or maybe you can pay a small amount or like a subscribe to certain things and get extra features. So maybe you want to say a little bit about what's coming up. It's not
Totally. Yeah.
great, but
So yeah. So the air. I don't even. Yeah. I mean, some people have said it's not really an airdrop. I don't know. I don't really want to argue with those people, but like, what we're doing is, we're taking a snapshot of everyone who of every address that's delegated to our validator on September 22nd. And if the address has delegated at least a certain amount, it will be receiving something on chain. So it will either be a special type of NFT or a token that's called Dust, DU5T. And the details on Dust haven't been released yet, because we got to keep our secret sauce for now. There's a lot of other competition in the space, and what are one of, when I mentioned before, like, business models, that's ours. So all of our, like, special secret sauce stuff is not like we're making all the wallet stuff open source, but all of our web services are not. So basically we're designing a whole suite of like back end supplementary web services that provide some special, like, automated features to VIP members who have supported the project in some way, that does things that, basically that no other wallet does, because it requires, like, dedicated cloud resources, like, per individual user. And the nice thing about this is, like, it's kind of synonymous with what you see a lot with, like, just cloud services in general, where they have, a free to use, like, web app that does, like, all the things you want. But as soon as you want to, like, elevate and start, like, storing your data on their cloud, or, like, being able to sync it across devices, then, that's where, like, the premium feature set starts, right? And it kind of makes sense because, like, cloud services cost money, right? Like, it costs money to, like, store your data on the cloud or whatever. So it's synonymous a lot, I think, with that whole like, cloud services like, feature set. It's all web services that are the premium features we provide to VIPs. And there was something else I was going to say about that, but I think I lost my train of thought.
it's okay. There's so much to talk about, so I'll give to think that. Yeah, it's really not that weird to me to have a sort of extra pay for option or a VIP option. All I can say is that my inbox is open. A VIP option never hurts. So if you have one spot left, I'm happy to join.
I remember what I was going to say. So about people being mad about like the snapshot being more whale friendly, is that like it we need to keep these things valuable, and if we gave like a VIP pass, just handed it out like candy, then it would not be valuable. So first of all, it needs to be like a somewhat exclusive thing, in the first place, and we need it to be valuable so that the project will live and not die. Like the security audit itself is like currently going to bankrupt us. So we're actually still trying to figure out ways how we're going to pay for it. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know if people realize like I'm not making any money off of this, at least not yet, right? Like hopefully someday I will, but like this is this project is just entirely like draining me, like time wise and financially. Like I've also invested my own personal money into it. So like this is not a cash grab by any means, right? Like this is merely a way for us to get a high quality product out there that is going to, weather the storm and be safe to use to handle people's money. Like that is not an easy that is not an easy thing to do, and it should be taken very seriously. So yeah, like all the funds that we're raising are literally going towards making this product the best possible wallet that we can. And so I just hope that that's clear to anyone who sees like the stuff we're doing with like the airdrops or the whales stuff, and understands that like like what our like mission statement is, right?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's really different from launching a decentralized community to making to enabling people to support open source development and a wallet that can help a lot of people. So glad you're making these steps to ensure the sustainability of the project. And I have one small question maybe, is that
Sure.
do you think that the infrastructure for the wallet itself, so like nodes on every chain to be able to query the history and to see what's happening, will it all be provided by the Starshell team, or is there also buy-in from separate chains like Secret Network or the Cosmos Hub even, or other community pools to pay for some of these expenses, these infrastructure expenses?
Yeah, we really hope so. So I've been in contact with a few other Cosmos chains who are interested, but naturally, like they're not as consumed by the hype for Secret Network as our community. So they what they see is kind of just a bunch, like they see a bunch of wallets popping up, right? So we're still like in talks with some of them about getting some either a sponsorship or development grant to help support like integration with their chain. And what that's designed to do is to provide funds so that we can run our dedicated infrastructure stack on that chain specifically, right? So with the Starshell wallet, you have full freedom to do whatever the wallet is capable of. You can add chains, you can add arbitrary nodes, right? If you want to use someone else's RPC endpoint, you're free, totally welcome to do that. You just enter its details and then you can switch the provider. But what we want to do is, provide like a default to all the chains that we support. So if you want to switch over to Osmosis Hub, ideally we'll have whole back-end provider just for Osmosis Hub. And, we've put a lot of resources into developing that infrastructure. So we have like a full infrastructure as code application that deploys scalable node services for Cosmos chains. And it's designed to be generic so we can deploy on any one of those chains. Really, the only limiting factor is just like, okay, is that chain supporting us so that we can run that infrastructure? And the idea behind putting so much focus onto the node infrastructure itself is because one of the things that, I'm sure a lot of people here have experienced and are familiar with is just sort of the history of network related outages that have been seen in Kepler when either like the node that Kepler is using gets congested by a bunch, by like an NFT mint or something, even though like there's other nodes in the network that are chugging along fine. So, with what we're trying to do is like, but to the end user, it's like they just see like, why Kepler not work. So yeah, we've put a lot of work into making sure that our default provider is like fully elastic, self-healing, auto-scalable set of nodes that will be able to just spin up new instances when things are getting hairy and to be able to handle dynamic loads. And not just on Secret Network, but on other chains as well.
And there really are some great node providers in our community. I see some of them here, so might as well be one of them. Glad to hear you got the infrastructure completely thought out at least. And I hope some other networks and also our own network can chip in when needed, because infrastructure load can be bearing, but in the end, for the complete network, it's going to be a very, very, very big plus if we have a nice mobile wallet and desktop wallet running, which enables even more privacy features, which just synergizes so well with the network that we already have. And now we talked about a lot of the features that are coming up or what we're seeing in the beta right now, and also how you guys think about open source security and all kinds of different things related to the wallet and the entire project. But now I guess it's time to look further ahead. Like the beta is out, everyone is starting to use it. You already mentioned that the mobile application is hopefully coming very close after this small podcast. What is coming after that? Like the beta will probably give you certain feedback. Where can people give feedback, and what are you really looking for in this beta test to make sure that the project that's coming out after this on mainnet is completely the project you want to deliver?
So with beta, we are basically trying to deliver the core feature set that we want to test for production. I should be transparent about the fact that we're currently under a lot of pressure to meet a certain timeline with the delivery of production. And it's very important. So what that means for version 1 is that there are going to be so many features that we have like partially implemented or fully spec'd out that just aren't going to be in version 1, that are going to have to wait for version 1.2 or version 2.0. And I wish I could put everything in the initial release, but we need to get out a stable, like fully functional wallet first, and then all of the awesome features that I cannot wait to finish before those can be added to the wallet. So for beta, it's all about getting in those core features so that we have feature parity with Kepler, and also like fully backwards compatible with the Kepler API, and evaluating, basically just that, so that when production launches, like it's like 1-to-1, like beta to production. And then beyond that, like I said, like just so many features. Hopefully not too many, but yeah, like some really awesome features that will be introduced and released at a pretty rapid pace following version 1. Also, the other thing that really complicates this is just the security audit. So when we conduct the security audit, we basically have to do a code freeze and stop development. And that's important because like we don't want to be like adding new bugs or building on like flawed concepts only to find out that it has to be ripped out. So once the security audit starts taking place, that's going to put us on a code freeze for 2 months about. And during that time, we'll be focusing all of our energy on the web services that I mentioned before. So all the VIP web service stuff will be focused on that during the security audit. And then once version 1.0 is released, then we'll switch back to integrating those web services and adding all the rich feature sets to version 1.2 or whatever. And so yeah, I mean, really excited for the future. Version 1.0 is really just the beginning for this wallet, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm some of these features are like so cool that we're keeping them under wraps because we don't want someone else to implement it before we do. But some of them we have kind of shared a little bit more details about what we have planned with some people, and it's okay if that word gets out because I don't think anyone's going to beat us to implement that, just because it's like it's kind of like a hard thing to do right, and I think we're the only ones that can really do it. So
some things are just such a development lift that even when you put it out, it can take others months, if not years, to make the same application.
Exactly.
I used to work for an open source company as well.
Oh, nice.
And at a certain point, they basically had a specific algorithm, but it was completely open source, and there was a patent for it, which was filed open. There was a paper about it. Everything was explained, but nobody really was able to really to keep up with the development, because if you have a big enough team and mind share about a product which you're already been developing for so long, then this small leap you have in front of other people can be gigantic in the long run. So
yeah,
I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
I guess you explained everything. I mean, we can all think about potential features that are coming up, and the beta is out. People can try it. You said you're trying to achieve feature parity with some of the other wallets. I know for sure that as soon as Starshell enables Ledger for their wallet, which I think it does from moment one, or at least that's what I expect,
Yes.
that everyone will quickly shift over with the masses, or at least I will. So I hope to see that happening, and then we'll be patiently waiting for more features. So that's definitely not a problem. I'm not going to bugger you with the question of when mainnet, because I hear you stressed to find out exactly when you can launch. So every date is fine. I'm just looking forward to the 22nd of September. It seems that not only Shade Airdrop is coming out then, but there's also a snapshot for Starshell, and there are some other things happening very closely in the network coming up. So we're all very excited for that. I quickly want to open up the floor. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to get you on so you can ask some questions to Subduggy or Starshell or me. Anything you really want, and maybe in meanwhile when people are raising their hands, seeing if they can come on, a small question: if we have any feedback regarding the beta, where can we come? What can we do? Can we come into the Discord to share the feedback?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So right now it's Discord. Yep. Discord is our social. That's where you can get in touch with us.
Okay, cool. So everyone, if you try out the wallet and you find something interesting, or you want to give them some small feedback, or just say that it's super awesome, then you can go into Discord and do that. I'm sure they will like it. So again, if anyone wants to come on, please do so. Feel free to ask a question. I see Thor wants to come on, so that's always great. Welcome, Thor. You should be able to speak if you want to.
Hi, thanks. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Starshell's great. How do you guys think about, because I ask this on every space that I am on and host, like, how are you going to get 1 million users for Starshell? What's your dream way to do it? Who do you have to work with to get it done? But like clearly, like you're competing with the likes of MetaMask. You're not just competing with other IBC wallets. So
Exactly.
what's the plan?
Yeah. So we have had long talks about the simplicity of the UI, and the road to like getting 1 million users, I think, is making it so easy that your grandma can use it. And what that requires is basically like having 2 versions of the UI, because it's a feature packed power user wallet, right? Like it will allow you to construct any type of transaction and have very fine grained controls over how that message is constructed. Now, you can't really have those features and have a simple UI. So what we're basically talking about is having like I'm a first time user option when signing up that has a bit more hand holding, has a very simple reduced user interface with big buttons that makes it much more feel like a, banking app designed for old people kind of thing. That is so easy and intuitive that even someone who is new to crypto can understand and start using it right away. One of the challenges, I think, with just onboarding a new user in general is like the terminology, right? Like some people, right, have never even heard like what a smart contract is. And so it's hard. I think like that's one of the things. It's like, how do you just not let the terminology be a roadblock for onboarding new users? So yeah, okay. So first of all the UI being simple. The next thing is fiat onboarding. That's super important, right? Like how, if you're a new user, like how do you get money into the system? And yeah, we've met with a company that does that Transact, and that is like our dream is to have a native widget integrated with the app where we can have support for fiat onboarding. Outside of that, some of the like enhanced features that we're expecting to introduce. So beyond great user experience and ease of fiat onboarding, we're also trying to explore like some features that make it so that there's like actually stuff to do in the wallet, like social utility within the wallet. That's some sort of like gamification of like interacting with the community to really encourage like a desire for engagement with the app, where like you can like conduct activities or like go on missions, within the wallet. And the idea there is to, like I said, like really encourage engagement from users, but also to encourage like more like bring like peers bringing on peers, right? Like the network effect. So I hope that answers your question, Tor. But if you have any any advice, I'm all ears. And obviously, too, partnering with other major players on the networks is super important. Like, being having like very seamless interaction and integration with a platform like Stash is super important for us, for example. So yeah, great question.
I appreciate the answer. Yeah, I mean, just only other thing I would suggest if you're looking for ideas, right, is take a really data-driven and intuitive approach to all the user journeys, right? And think about retention and pain points and everything else, and just think about what's going to make Starshell stand out from day one within the cosmos. I mean, also, you can always differentiate on responsiveness if you're in the Discord and you've got people in the Discord helping support users directly. It's a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
My wallets of choice would be the ones that are the most proactive in the channels that I trust. Obviously not the MetaMask bots that respond to all of my tweets, but that's a big deal for me when I kind of decide where I'm going, is like, do I trust the wallet to be maintained by people who can be responsive if there's ever any issues, especially if you've got a complex product roadmap and you're trying to add more functionality. The more complex the wallet gets, the more important that support is going to be. But I appreciate you being in the ecosystem, appreciate the work you've done to date, and I'm really looking forward to getting more hands-on with what comes next.
Awesome. Thanks, Tor.
Yeah, and there's always people in our community who are willing to do some support work. So if you ever need people to help with that, then feel free to tag the agents or ask even the support committee if they have some hours left. We're happy to support Starshell.
Nice.
Again, I want to ask if anyone wants to ask a question, and feel free to come on now. Otherwise, I'm quickly or slowly rounding off the podcast or the episode, and want to thank everyone for being here. So I'll give it 30 seconds, see if anyone comes on. Maybe for you, the last question I always ask when I end this is, we now got very familiar with what you're doing or what the project is doing, where we can check it out, and what we can use already and what features are coming up. But the question remains is how can we best support you? So where can people go besides the Discord to help Starshell achieve its goal, and what message do you want to leave to the last listeners here?
For sure. I would say, I mean, I don't want to be too corny, but if you follow us on Twitter or retweet our tweets, I think we super appreciate getting the opportunity to reach out to a broader audience. There's a lot of people in the extended Cosmoverse who I'm finding just appreciate the a new wallet coming onto the scene that cares about privacy. And so if you could help us spread the word to those people without being, annoying or spammy, we would really appreciate it.
I guess that's a task we can all complete. I'll throw delegations your way when I have a chance, and if someone else wants to, then feel free to do so. I'm sure it helps, even if it's a little.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing me on today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So thank you everyone for coming on. This was the Agents of the Roundtable podcast. We are here every Thursday at 5 UTC. But you can also, besides catching us live on the Twitter space, you can also find the recording on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Pocket Cast, basically anywhere you want to. Most people listen in live, but if you want to listen it back or have the recording, you can. So feel free to check us out there. And thank you all for joining, and give Starshell a follow on Twitter. maybe us if you want to as well, and then I'll catch you the next time. See you, everyone.
Thank you for listening in on the Agents of the Roundtable Community AMA. Follow us on Twitter at secret_AOTRT and every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC in the Secret Network Discord.